Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. Of course, when a manager is sacked, I would like to go down all the different avenues to understand the why. Even if I don't like it, I want to try and be positive about believing in the new ownership, believing that this isn't just a business American model decision where it's like if it ain't going good, you just get someone else to walk through the door and do the job instead. So this video is 5 reasons why I think this might be the right call. And I think when it didn't take me very long to come up with 5 reasons, and I'm always, and I always will be, an advocate of Thomas Tuchel. I love what he's done for the club. Yes, in the past couple of weeks, there has been frustration from my side about watching how we play, seeing the disgruntlement from Tuchel on the sidelines, from the players, performances, being bored of watching Chelsea, and the Dynamo Zagreb game is the prime example where you're watching it and you just know that Chelsea aren't going to score. And this is a problem. If we're getting beaten by the 4th seeds in our Champions League group, then there's only really one thing that we're used to, especially in the last 20 plus years of following Chelsea. We know that when things aren't going well, someone else is walking through the door and someone's got to leave. So whether or not you think this is the right thing or not, we're going to begin with reason number 1. The new owners of Chelsea Football Club are clearly ambitious. Otherwise, we would not have spent nearly 300 million this summer. And when we look at the opening 7 games of Chelsea's season, to only have one good performance in there, what that tells me is the owners are very concerned about how this capitulation could escalate. And at the end of the day, there isn't really too much you can put on the manager who actually got sent off in that game against Tottenham. All players who play for Chelsea know that when you're playing against Spurs, you give that little bit extra. Whether you agree with that mentality or not is beyond the point. When players are playing in derbies, when you've got the fans backing the boys the way that we do in the home games against your likes of Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal, even West Ham, the fans were great inside Stamford Bridge from what I could hear through my TV. I think the ownership have looked at the trajectory. They've looked at these performances and just realised that at this point in time, there is only so much that we can take before it's too late. Chelsea want top 4 this season, and if 1 in 7 performances is the way we start the season, and we've lost 3 games against teams that we definitely should be beating, or at least competing with, then there really is no option. Reason number 2 is the fact that the only way we were going to stop this escalating into a bigger issue is to cut things clean. There was a quote that I actually ended a video that I never released. I was going to release a video earlier on, either today or late yesterday. Before Tuchel was sacked, I made a video basically giving my thoughts on whether or not this is the right thing. And I actually said to give Tuchel 6 more weeks. But on reflection, there is a book that I've read by an author called Neil Donald Walsh. And it is called When Everything Changes, Change Everything. And I think when everything changes, we can outline this at Chelsea as the last 6 months. I've said it in 2 videos already that the winning percentage of the last 6 months from Chelsea and the fact we conceded double the amount of goals in Tuchel's last 6 months as we did the first, I think that deciding to do this now could well be the right thing because it gives us 32 matches of a Premier League season to rectify the bad start. Yes, you can argue whether or not it is actually really as bad as people like to say it is, because we're only 5 points off the top of the Premier League. But the problem is 5 points means that Chelsea have to keep winning and those teams above keep losing. And when we look at the points tallies that teams have won the league with in recent times, we're talking Man City are looking at 90 plus points. Liverpool 97 points, didn't win the league. Chelsea cannot afford to allow for anything to go further south than this, because as much as top 4 is the overall goal, it is also challenging for the Premier League. That is what we really want to see from Chelsea. And Todd Bowley's not come here, I don't believe, just to keep getting top 4. I think he is ambitious enough to want to see us win trophies. And people can argue about the motive behind Bowley taking over at Chelsea. I don't think there's any point at this stage to believe that Bowley is just in here to make some money when he's just spent 300 million. If he wanted to just make a load of cash and profit, you don't buy Chelsea Football Club. It's not a profitable business for Todd Boehly. So at this point, I think maybe doing it at this stage is the right time. Moving into point number 3. This one, I think, is the reason things have gone south. Tuchel is burnt out. And I mean, if you think about this on a human psychological level, you go through your star striker, who you spent 100 million on, basically says after 2 months he don't want to be there no more. It's publicly put out there, you've then got to deal with it. Then the owner who's bought you in, Roman Abramovich, gets the club taken away from a war you have nothing to do with and that you've got no say in. Then you go through a divorce with your wife. Then you have to deal with new ownership. And we know that Todd Boehly isn't necessarily a hands-on football guy. He's hands-on at the moment because he wants to make sure that everything is going as sweetly and as smoothly as he wants it to as the owner. Tuchel has had to deal with a hell of a lot, which is why I empathise with the struggle. It's not necessarily sympathy. There's a difference between sympathy and empathy, and I hope you guys know what that is. I empathise with Tuchel because he has had to deal with so much at Chelsea, and because his role has become more hands-on. Tuchel has said in interviews that he would rather just be focusing on the team. He doesn't want to have to deal with the transfers. He just wants to give the names of players that he thinks are going to fit what he wants to do, and then hopefully someone else is going to deal with the rest. Tuchel has had so much to deal with, and as a result of that, you are seeing temperament changes. You are seeing a shift in his attitude on the sidelines. You are seeing a forlorn figure in interviews post-match, particularly when things are not going well. I do find it interesting because when you look at the videos that we see from training, you watch Chelsea Unseen on YouTube, there does seem to be a good rapport with players, but as we've always experienced at Chelsea, downfalls and downturns in player, management, staff relations, it's very quick. The downfall at Chelsea is very quick indeed. Reason number 4, the style of football isn't attractive. And as a fan, I want to win primarily, which we've done under Tuchel. But having lost all those finals at the end of last season, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, when you also look at the tactical implementation, I've been watching football recently from Chelsea, which is arguably some of the most flat, dull football in the Premier League. And I think for Chelsea to be less entertaining than bloody Wolves, Leeds United, it's an issue. And I think what Todd Boehly also wants is he wants to have a manager who, over time, can make Chelsea an attractive outlet. I think Roman Abramovich always wanted trophies. And I think Todd Boehly's going to be very similar to that, but we want to play and excite people. Quite frankly, Thomas Tuchel's football has not been exciting for a significant period of time. And I think the reason why that is because what Tuchel wants to do isn't really what the Chelsea players are able to do. And playing players out of position, that's the number one reason for the downfall, really. And I've not even put it as one of the 5 reasons why sacking him was the right thing, because at the end of the day, Tuchel has his strategy. Tuchel has the way he wants his teams to play. And if he keeps on playing players out of position, it's because he is stubborn to the point where he's not willing to change it to fit the personnel. He can't mould his style into something else. And I think that is one of the reasons why he's inevitably been sacked as Chelsea manager. The 5th reason why takes it all the way back to when Todd Boehly first joined Chelsea. Todd Boehly says he wants to build a sustainable management team. He does not want to be seen as the hire and fire. He wants stability at Chelsea Football Club, which when any business goes through the kind of shift that Chelsea have been through as a result of going from Abramovich to Boehly, it is absolutely paramount. It is pivotal that there is stability at the club, because when there is unstable times, when there is constant chopping and changing, the cycle remains like that. Boehly doesn't want to be paying 10 million, 15 million severance payments every 18 months. He doesn't want to be doing that. He wants to have a Chelsea that has a long-term vision, a strategy that can continue to develop youth, which you can argue Tuchel has, but he also hasn't really. And when you look at the signings that we made this summer, half of them are young players for the future, which tells me Todd Boehly didn't see Tuchel as that guy to be able to fast-track these young players into the team, whether that is graduates from the academy, or the signings that we've made this summer, such as Chukwuemeka, Slonina, Casadei from Italy. I think Thomas Tuchel hasn't been the man in Todd Boehly's eyes for quite some time. We have heard from journalists today that it isn't off the back of Dynamo Zagreb 1, Chelsea 0. This is something with a much deeper root. And these are the 5 things that I think. You guys can see it up on the screen now. Let me know the reasons why you think Tuchel's no longer our manager in the comments down below. Check out all the other content I've done on Tuchel's sacking. We move. Come on, you Blues.